that are willing to think outside the box, and it only takes a few little cracks in the dam, and then all of a sudden you have a flood. So it's not going to take much, because the truth is the truth, and the truth is that industries like manufacturing can provide a great opportunity for students. Industries like the trades can provide great opportunities for students, and you can't hold that truth back. It just needs to get out there a little bit, and it'll spread.
So anyone listening, please reach out. I'll definitely get you some more information on Learn and Earn. They're a great group of students. I was really impressed when I was there. Just the questions that they asked, they were all attentive. They were a really great group. So, be sure to reach out to myself or Josh, and let's get you in touch with this program. So let's kind of move forward from Learn and Earn. And I guess I still always tie back, but what do you think that manufacturing, we're always talking about what do you think education can do? I want to talk about what do you think manufacturing can do for the education system to help persuade more schools to get involved in programs like yours or some type of tech program, or just explore options in the manufacturing industry and talk about it at school.
Yeah, I think I think you guys are pretty well positioned. It's if different industries like manufacturing, construction, these industries where, how would you describe it, where there's a far higher premium put on the job training as opposed to in the classroom academic training. I don't mean to condescend to people who work in those industries. I'm not implying that they're not academically smart, but in terms of the value contributed, there's so much value in the on-the-job learning aspect of things. And you couple that with the reality that right now, America is slowly waking itself up to this reality that a college degree at any cost isn't justified. Now, a college degree at a certain cost is absolutely just. My college degree was absolutely justified. It got me the job I have right now, and I provide for my wife and 4 kids, and we live a nice life. So that college degree was very justified. But a college education at any cost isn't justifiable anymore, and not when you have industries like yourself that will provide you gainful employment for a lifetime, and they'll provide you the learning, the education you need on the job. So I think you're in a good position. I mean, it's the key is getting to the people who run school districts. The real decision makers. Like, I'm not a decision maker at Mayfield. I'm an instructor. I teach kids. I build relationships with kids. I help them learn content. But doing what colleges have been doing to high schools for decades, which is, hey, I'm so and so from this college, and let me tell you about why you should be referring kids to apply to my college. Well, that should be the same, and that conversation isn't happening with me. That's happening with guidance counselors. That's happening with career technical education coordinators, with associate principals of curriculum, with superintendents, and these consortiums of superintendents, these consortiums of school administrators who really drive policy, because it's their initiatives that are going to be carried out at the local level. It's like the military, right? The generals make the decisions, and then the those of us in the trenches carry it out. So getting into those people the way that colleges have done for decades is going to open up a lot of doorways for you guys. And you only need a few people, and that's the thing with education. Everybody's a follower in education. Whatever one district's doing, if it starts to work, then no one wants to be too far behind, and they're going to come running and trying to hop on that train. And so you need to identify those people, and it'll take some grunt work, in the get-go. Identify those people who are in education, who are willing to be innovative, who are willing to think outside the box, and develop really good relationships with those people and open up doors. And think of yourself like the colleges have been doing for decades. Like, no, I'm gonna sell this to you, and you're gonna push kids my direction because it's a great opportunity for kids. And it's what we should be doing in education, is providing these opportunities.
I think it's a really, really interesting point because colleges have been selling themselves to high schools for years. I mean,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like when our guys, we represent Mazak on the HEH side, and it's our guys when they go into a shop, obviously first and foremost we want to make sure we have the right product for the customer,
sure.
and that we can benefit the customer. But we want them to buy a Mazak. We want them to be under our support. We want to help them grow. We want to help them see them be successful. And it's the
Hmm.
same thing. Now I'm making this parallel in real time with schools. If colleges are approaching schools saying we can get your kids out of here doing this, doing this, doing this, and graduating, you sell that to them. I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, it's the same thing. The machine tool
Yep.
business, well, the manufacturing business needs to start selling themselves to schools. And I think that's key. And that's something that I had touched on earlier, that manufacturing, I just whacked my knee on the desk because I'm getting so intense about this. Um,
All jacked
yeah,
up.
I'm all jacked up. Um, Manufacturing talks about we want more kids, we want more kids, we want more kids. What can we do? What can we do? If you are listening, if you have kids, get in touch with the superintendent, get in touch with those decision makers, and do
Hmm.
those things and start just picking away, picking away, picking away. And in manufacturing, we always say relationships is key. Well, let's just apply it, and
Oh
let
yeah.
as a manufacturing industry, I encourage you, if you're in the industry right now, to play your part. Play your
Hmm.
part. Talk to other parents. Talk to other students. Talk about your job. Realistically, but also in a positive way, and the growth that you've had, and share those
Hmm.
experiences with these decision makers at the school, because you're 100% right. I mean, that's really, really good advice for somebody, especially these big organizations in manufacturing that can really start to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to require some people on the inside. You might not convince every person you talk to, because just like anything, it's tough to change the tide, and there is, you know, public education, just like most government institutions, are slow moving and they lag. But you really just need to find a few people in public education at your local level, maybe even at the consortium level, where you have groups of schools that have partnered up for things, that are willing to think outside the box, and it only takes a few little cracks in the dam, and then all of a sudden you have a flood. So it's not going to take much, because the truth is the truth, and the truth is that industries like manufacturing can provide a great opportunity for students. Industries like the trades can provide great opportunities for students, and you can't hold that truth back. It just needs to get out there a little bit, and it'll spread.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm so thankful to have to talk to somebody like you that is into that. And I remember the first time that we had spoke on the phone, or it could have been the second time, you had said that you want to make a difference in the education system because your kids. You see what's
Oh,
happening with the education system, and your kids make you want to make a change in the education system. And I just want you to talk about that, because a lot of people
sure.
that listen to this, we have a broad range of listeners. We have kids that are 14, 15, 16, still in high school, all the way to people that have been in the manufacturing industry, or people that aren't even in the manufacturing industry but are older with kids. So why don't you just touch on that? Because I'm a big family person. You are too. I think family is a massive value that we've started to lose in society, and that's one thing that we have to gain back outside of manufacturing. But
Yeah.
your influence there, I think, is unique.
Yeah, so I'm a father of four. My wife and I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And if you would have told college baseball player Josh that one day he was going to be the father of four girls, I would have, I would have done way worse than just laugh at you. But here I am, and there's nothing has shaped my perspective of the world and life and interpersonal relations like becoming a dad. I mean, it changes you like nothing else. And so, um, I, when you look at kids, you don't have to have kids to be a good teacher. You don't have to have kids to care about kids. But the fact of the matter is, when you have your own kids, it puts everyone else's kids into a different context, because you look at that child and you're like, well, what my child is to me, that child also is to somebody else, and you just don't understand that till you've done it yourself. And I don't mean that I don't know if you have kids. I
No, I
presume
do
you
not,
don't.
but yeah.
Um, but I don't mean that you, because you don't have kids, you can't contribute to kids.
Oh
I'm just
no,
saying
yeah.
there is a perspective that you get when you become a dad, and I imagine when you become a mom, that that just changes everything, because it's a relationship that you can't recreate anywhere else. And so, that really affected me, and it really changed how I view things, and it changed the way that I viewed what my job is. What I really do in education. My perspective on that changed quite a bit. So,
no, I think that's a super, super unique perspective. And like you said, people like myself, I don't have kids, so I can care about kids in the way that my perception allows me to. But ultimately, you have kids, and you're out here trying to make a difference in the education system for your kids to grow up in. And obviously we're seeing the education system make changes, and we talked about college being really expensive. And I think from I can't speak again because I don't have kids, but I know for myself, when I started looking into getting my MBA, I was like, wow, this is very, very expensive, but for what I want to do, I have to get this. But it is so expensive, and so it's really nice to have people like yourself advocating for logical, systematic educational change, because it's becoming not worth it. If you can't, I tell people all the time, I think it should be illegal for your job salary, to your average salary of your job, to be less than what your college degree costs. I mean, that is crazy to me. Crazy.
Yeah, the real kicker on that one is when you start to dig into it, and the debt you incurred was the government lending you your own money back at 8% interest. And then that one will really piss you off. Like, wait a minute. You just put me $150,000 in debt by lending me my own tax dollars? Thanks.
Thanks, that makes a lot of sense. And I think I talked about this with you. If you're going to take out a $150,000 loan, go buy a house.
Right. Go invest that $150,000.
Business, man. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
If you are comfortable making an expensive, experimental decision, I'm just going to go to college and party and figure out what I want to do, then you should take out that $150,000, buy a machine for $90,000, put it in your garage, and make $10,000 a month on making 10 parts a month. I mean, nowadays it's becoming kind of this time where a lot of college doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because there's value there. There's value in all kinds of pathways after high school. And college is one of those very valuable pathways. But when they've had the corner market on post high school for so long that there's become a disconnect between what is the reality of what is needed and what colleges provide you. And when you have a monopoly on an industry, you don't provide a good product at a good price. That's just competition 101. So it's unfortunate that college is bloated like that. But that can change. It can change. People like yourself, industries like manufacturing, industries like the trades, they have truth to tell, and they just need to tell it.
Yeah, I think you nailed that one. And it is, before we kind of close out this episode, is there anything else that you want to share about, maybe things that manufacturing doesn't know about education doesn't know about manufacturing, just to kind of start really bridging that gap? Because I think conversations like this and people hearing conversations like this are going to make them feel motivated to go out and start to bridge that.
I would say this. Maybe I'll use an analogy. Do you have an iPhone? I don't have an iPhone. Do you?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so you have an iPhone. I'm an Android person only just because I'm paranoid that Apple's going to track me everywhere. But my wife has an iPhone, so it's all good. My 9-year-old wants one, but she's not getting one. So back in the day when Steve Jobs came up with the very first iPhone, I remember that. I've never had an iPhone, but I remember when the first iPhone came out. And the world had never seen anything like it before. As a matter of fact, the world did not know that it needed iPhones. But Steve Jobs taught the world that you need an iPhone. And now it's the product we know that it is today.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know what's out there, and because they don't know what's out there, because they don't know the innovation that is in other people's minds, they don't actually know what they need because they don't know what choices they have. And I think there are some professions out there that are in that that kind of like that little purgatory spot where they're stuck in nothing because people don't know that they need them yet. And so I think that when you can break through that, right, when you can have that Steve Jobs moment when Steve Jobs created this iPhone thing and no one knew what it was, but then he taught the world that you needed it. Now it's now we're on our iPhone, version 25, and when the next one comes out, there'll be lines down the road to buy the next one. And so it wasn't a matter of what do people need, and let's try to feed that. That's one thing, but it's also, there's sometimes where you just have to teach people what they don't know, and then not convince them like in a bad way, but make them aware of what's out there and what they really need. And I think there are all kinds of things that kids need to have access to and opportunities after high school that they just don't know about. And in part, that's our fault. That's education's fault because we've allowed that to happen. But in part, that's because industries don't tell their story well.
I agree. I honestly could not have said that any better, and I think that entire statement was so powerful. I mean, making that analogy and making that connection just really, yeah, you nailed that. And so kind of before we wrap up here, at the end of every episode, I kind of do what I call my max out questions. I love working out, maxing out at the gym. So kind of just like my last couple questions and kind of wrap up the episode.
Rip some pec muscles here. Here we go.
Yeah. Let's do some.
Throw a couple plates on the bar.
Exactly. So this one's kind of broad, but I think you can have a really good perspective on this. So what is your message to parents that have students in the public education system?
All right, well, as a parent with 2, soon to be 3 students in public education, let's see here. What would my message be? Well, first of all, I would say, here's my message. I would say your child is your child. And then there's 2 sides to that coin. And so that's your child. Your child is your responsibility, but it's your child. You probably know what's best for your kid. And just like, Shay needs to be an advocate for manufacturing because that's her industry. Parents need to know what's best for their kid, and they need to advocate for what's best for their kid. But they also need to be responsible for their kid too. When I have your kid for 50 minutes a day, I'm throwing droplets into a pond when you have your kid for 18 years. So, your kids are your kids, and that comes with responsibility, and it also comes with a privilege of being able to be the parent of your child, but be the parent of your child. And I think there's, if we can get back to that, and we'll finish off with the family mantra here. It all starts there. Families come in all different shapes and sizes and all different mix-ups, but it all starts at home. And everyone in education knows that. Any teacher you ever talk to will tell you that. And they might not want to admit it, but it all starts at home. What we do in education is we play in the fringes, but it all starts at home. And so parents, be parents. Own your child in terms of your child's success and your child's failures. And when your child screws up, that's on you too. But when your child succeeds, you've built something in them that allows them to succeed as well. And view the school as a partner in that. But you are the parent. Be the parent.
Wow, that was very, very powerful. I literally got goosebumps sitting here listening to that. I should have asked that question last. But my last question for you is, I think Mayfield's doing such an awesome thing getting their feet wet and trying to jump into the trades and manufacturing. And what would be kind of your message to other public schools to encourage them to get involved and start programs like Learn and Earn?
I think what I would say is in our industry, education, the 80-20 rule kind of reigns supreme here, as it does in most places in life, and that's why they call it the 80-20 rule. But we're supposed to be better than that, and that is, the top 10% in the school, the 10% smartest, best, most amazing kids in the school. There's a whole lot of resources pushed at them. The bottom 10%, the biggest troublemakers, the kids who are struggling the worst in the classroom, the kids who have, the neediest students in a building, a lot of resources get pushed at them. And there's a whole bunch of people right in the middle who are showing up every day, going to class, and the bare minimum of resources are getting pushed at those kids. But there's opportunities out there for them too, and it's our responsibility to provide those opportunities as well. And so there's a whole lot of kids who spend their K to 12 education right in the middle, and they don't really get much attention. They don't get many resources pushed their way, in part because they don't need much, but we still have an obligation to provide them with a pathway through high school that connects them to success after high school, so that they can become fulfilled adults and provide for themselves and their families, and not just live off the taxpayer for the rest of their life.
You nailed that. You nailed it so many times this episode. We're gonna have so many good, bite-sized information to give to people. I'm really excited to get this episode out. So, Josh, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully, we can continue to stay in touch. I want to do everything I can for the Learn and Earn program at Mayfield. And anybody, listening, I know we talked about, partnering in the program, but also if you are just willing to open up your shop just for a tour, allow these kids to come in and do a tour. Maybe you don't have the flexibility to partner with Learn and Earn right now, but just open up your doors for a tour and get these kids exposed to manufacturing and show them what the cool and neat things that we do. Be sure to, get in touch with me about that. And Josh, thanks so much for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all your help. Thanks for having me on. I know my kids are really looking forward to come out and seeing you in December.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you in December. And everybody listening, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to share this episode with somebody that you know. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.